Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. We're here interviewing entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and people just doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting with Nigel Harman. He's the co-founder of Focus Systems. He's been doing it for about 2 years, and his goal is to make data sexy. Personally, I think that's a bit of a tall order. So how do you plan on making data sexy, Nigel?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Anthony. Yeah, definitely is a tall order because I mean, a lot of times data can be very mundane, it can be very dry. But my goal is to make it sexy because if you know that data equals dollars, suddenly it becomes a lot sexier, right? And so how we make data sexy is we do done for you data tracking systems and help you understand what are the levers that you need to pull to unlock the most amount of growth and profit in your business and efficiency so that you can scale predictably.
Okay, that makes way more sense because sometimes somebody's tagline really requires follow-up questions, which is a good thing. It's supposed to, right? Where you're
Yeah.
supposed to say how, please enlighten me. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good one. Awesome. So where are you calling in from?
From Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver, Canada. Are you a natural lifelong Canadian, or do you move there recently, or?
I'm from Malaysia. I was born there. I moved to Canada, Vancouver, Canada when I was 4 years old. So I pretty much lived here my entire life. So I'm for sure a Canadian. Like I'm not born but raised in here. So I could barely speak Malay. So if I go back home, I'm probably gonna be gonna be shunned from all my family. So I'm Canadian.
I got you. I got you. Are you gonna be a Canadian for life, or do you have aspirations to move somewhere else?
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I'm very grateful for where I am. I love my family, my friends, and everything. It's just I started entrepreneurship because I want to have that flexibility. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to have a place, maybe in like somewhere in South America or somewhere in Asia too, and then have the mobility to travel where I want to. So I this will be my roots of like where we're gonna settle down, but I want to be able to travel and be a lot more flexible.
Absolutely. Likewise, that's a big draw to being an entrepreneur is being able to kind of do that bit. For
Yeah.
somebody that's never been to Canada, if I was to visit, as like you're saying, get out there. What do you recommend people do?
Come on the West Coast. Come to Vancouver, Canada. And I'm biased, but honestly, you even ask people on the East Coast, they usually say Vancouver is the best, right? Because number one, it's like the Vancouver's known for being very mild in their weather, whereas like more eastern, anywhere besides Vancouver, the West Coast, they have very extreme weather, very hot summers, very cold winters, and in Vancouver and in the West Coast, it's just very mild. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful on the West Coast here. It's if you love mountains, if you love the beaches, if you love like the coastlines, then Vancouver definitely is a spot to come travel to, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, I've only ever seen that stuff like briefly. I'm in Iowa, so Great Plains. We got flat, we got corn, we got beans. So all that sounds new and interesting. So I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so awesome, awesome. So what can you tell us about Focus Systems? You're co-founder of it. You've been doing it for about 2 years. You're making data sexy. I know you highlighted that bit, but what
Yeah.
can you tell us about it?
It's funny because now I'm kind of known as like the data numbers guy, but my origin story is like I am not in like I don't naturally come good with numbers. Like I'm not the stereotypical Asian that's very like just extremely good at math. I actually failed math in high school, which is actually it kind of leads into this. So I've been doing martial arts my whole life. I was a coach for 15 plus years. That was my whole world. I just grew up as an athlete. But I got burnt out, long story short, competing for my entire life at adolescence. So I wanted to get onto the online world because what I realized is I loved traveling. I loved experiencing new cultures and seeing new things. And that's what fortunately I was able to do when I was competing. I got to travel all the world. But you know, getting burnt out from the actual day-to-day competition stuff, I wanted to find another way that I can still travel and have a lifestyle that I'm looking at that I want to wake up to, right? And so I was like, well, I want to get on the online world, but I didn't know where to start. So I knew martial arts, so I was like, why don't I just start doing marketing for martial arts schools? So I got into that, started my marketing agency at like 2020, and scaled it through the hardest time when it was like literally the whole world shut down. And my job as a marketer of martial arts schools was to get people to be like, hey, you want to get as close to someone as possible and learn how to choke them out instead of social distancing, right? So it was a challenge to say the least. And I was the CEO, meaning Chief Everything Officer. I did literally everything, and I scaled it to about 30K a month, but then crashed down to the ground. And I grinded out for like 2-ish years, and then I realized I was like getting very anxious whenever my phone would vibrate because I think it'd be like a client that's mad or something. I just didn't want to touch my phone. I've never been naturally an anxious person, but I was super, super anxious at the point. Was like, this is not why I decided to run an online business. So I decided to kind of pivot a bit, and then I took like a few months of just learning like what do I actually like doing. And so during because I was a chief everything officer, the Monday to Friday was the day to day, and then the weekends it was my fun time or relaxing time when I get to build systems. And I was like, oh, this is awesome! I could do my own thing. And I realized people need systems. Like systems are extremely important for a business, any business, right? So I'm like, why don't I just focus on this? Because this actually lights me up. I actually really enjoy this stuff. And so I started going to systems, and then I was like, okay, um, what type of systems? So we started building all these different systems, and I still stayed away from the data. And because also I got burned. Like when I was running my martial arts agency, I was able to find one of the biggest franchises in the world. I started working with them, but long story short, I lost them because I didn't know my numbers. I wasn't a numbers guy. I just in my head I was like, I'm not a numbers guy. I failed math. That's not me. But then I started reading a book by Michael Gerber. They call it The E-Myth. It's a very popular book. I'm sure many of you have heard it before. Where he said this one line where he said, businesses are run by systems and people run the system. I butchered that quote, but that's essentially what it means, right? So then I realized that I hated data tracking, not because I was not bad at, not because of the numbers thing, but it's because the system that I was running on was flawed. It was just like chaotic. It was like not organized whatsoever. And so I just thought to myself, like, I kind of had that eureka moment. I'm like, if I can just build a system that is so easy to understand that someone like me who's failed math can understand how to use it, then everyone can use it. And so that became my obsession of like, okay, how do I make this as easy as possible so that people that are not numbers people can become numbers and make data sexy? Because it became sexy to me. So that's why I wanted to make it sexy for other, right? So that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, there's something to that where I wasn't a math, savant or anything by any stretch of the imagination in high school either. But the stuff that you use practical in the real world, it can make way more sense to you. So if you're the kind of person that like, I just can't figure out algebra, or I can't figure out trigonometry or whatever, then you become an electrician. You're doing trig every day, but it's in a way that makes sense. So there's something to be said for that. So that's awesome that you were able to kind of learn from what you like, what you don't like, and then kind of carry on. Because a lot of people they'll fail and they'll abandon it and they'll go straight on back to the workforce. Or
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
awesome. So what's your favorite thing now about what you're doing?
It's really about I love seeing it work. Like once you have to build something and seeing it actually work into play. There's something very satisfying about that. Of just like the whole process, actually mapping it out, seeing how much pain our clients are in, how messy it is, and then actually building like a system, a structure of how it's going to work, and then seeing it work it into play. We've been able to achieve some really great results. We work with mostly 7 to 8 figure companies. We work with like high six, I'd say high six beyond. And so there are a lot of times they're like companies with like at least 5 employees, probably more like 10 to like 50 plus, and they have a lot of complexity and there's just a lot going on. We just want to simplify that for them so that everyone is going to be on the same page about defining what these numbers mean and then where to focus in order to scale and to grow. Right. So it's just really about being able to bring that all that complexity and keeping it very, very simple and easy to understand. That's what I really like. And I just love building businesses in general and networking with people and talking to people about this stuff. So that's kind of what brings me joy. Yeah.
I got you. Just so I can understand better, not to go too far down the rabbit hole because we don't need to do that. But what's like a real life example of you put the system together and really cleaned it up
Yeah.
for a client?
Yeah. I'll give you 2 examples. So one, we worked with this company that was doing about close to $1 million a month. And so they're quite a big team. They had about close to 10 closers around there. So I was talking to the CRO, and then I was talking to the COO, right? And the CRO, his name is Joe, he told me he would spend 2 hours a day sifting through numbers, stuff like that. And then when they would have like team meetings, he would have to do a separate team meeting with their COO just to make sure their numbers lined up because they were on two different, completely different systems. They had their own scripts or their own spreadsheets and all that stuff. And so they were unnecessarily spending, I mean, it was necessary for their position, but we made it unnecessary after we able to condense both those systems and put them on one. Because imagine as a very big company like a company doing $1 million a month, and their two of their top executive team members are meeting on a weekly basis, spending around like 2 hours a week every single week doing something that can be completely like taken off their plate, right? So they can focus that time on, working with clients, improving their systems, improving their client experience, anything besides crunching numbers, essentially, right? And so we were just able to centralize everything and put all the data in one central place of like essentially one area of truth, and so that they refer always to that dashboard rather than having to like sift through numbers. That was super. They told me I helped them remove 2 hours a day as their CRO just with that, and then 2 hours more a week with the meeting between the COO and the CRO.
Yeah, that's a lot, especially if your C-suite execs are, spending time frivolously. You want them focused on their job. You want them to cut out any kind of
Yeah,
inefficiencies. So that's
exactly,
awesome.
exactly.
What's some you've been doing it for almost 2 years now? What's something that you would do different if you had to start it today that maybe was a hard lesson that you learned along the way?
I would simplify it even more. Um, we've been doing this for 2 years, but I'd say a good year, probably half. So a good chunk of the 2 years was spent on product, was spent on simplifying it, dumbing it down in a sense, right? Like, because we want to make it like data, like is the last thing you want as complexity, right? So we just are finding more and more ways to make it simpler, to make it easier for people to understand, and to also maintain that system as they start to scale, you know to higher levels. So it's really about just keeping it as simple as possible. That's the biggest thing that we wanted to do is like even simpler, even simpler. And so we're actually building systems that are complex when we build them, but it causes simplicity once they're built, right? And so that's what we're doing right now. Just having that in mind, keep it simple, simple scales, complexity fails, right?
Yeah, it's just universal truths, and no matter what the industry is, there's the saying, KISS, keep it stupid simple, or keep it simple
Yep,
stupid, depending
yep.
on how you're talking to yourself that day. So it's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something that if you can learn it the easy way by just listening to somebody from the get-go, it's going to do you way better because you're going to learn it eventually. Might as well take somebody else's knowledge. So how about like your average client? Do you have a niche that you tend to work well with? Obviously, you had size that you said kind of
Yep.
meets it, but how about just like your avatar of a client?
Yeah, our bread and butter is going to be high six-figure plus coaches and agencies. Okay? But we work with all sorts of service providers. And we're also expanding now to like a network of, we're building a community of people that are just starting out and they just want to get the basics, foundations of their data tracking system. And we're actually like going there and coaching them and helping them. It's more of like a done with you rather than done for you. Our done for you is always going to be the high six, seven, eight figure businesses. But yeah, coaches and agencies is our bread and butter.
Okay. And then how about, you say you like to network with other people. What are other, businesses or industries that are, good power partners referring back and forth with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we work with people that want to kind of like label us. So a lot of times we have, okay, so here's another example. We had clients that sometimes they like lead gen agencies. They are providing leads and results for their clients, but a lot of times they don't have the dashboards to show their client what type of results they're getting, right? And so we built this one client. They had 150 clients. And so, and all through Go High Level, and their CSM would have to click through every account and then sift through the thing, and it would just take them hours every single day clicking through 150 different accounts just to get the numbers. So we essentially created one template we put it, and we created one system, and then we just duplicated it for 150 people. So we can use that as an add-on for people that want to display the results for their clients. We also work with people that are doing um, like placing team members, so like closers or setters, and they want a system to help track that. So it's usually just add on for people that really want the data to be displayed in an easy to understand way.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything that you wanted to mention that I kind of failed to ask about? Anything that you're working on that maybe is pretty exciting for you or anything?
Yeah, so we're just started a community. We're just started a brand new community. So it's going to be growing, and it's a Facebook group. I guess I could drop the link below. Yeah, and so in this Facebook group, this is the concept is we want to have business owners that are looking to improve their data tracking systems, but also that maybe they don't want that done for you. Maybe they want to find a team member that they can place on the team that can build and manage these systems without them, so they can bring it all in-house. So that way they're looking for like an integrator, operator, head of ops, something like that. So as an operator, head of ops, you're also and you want to improve your skills, there's also going to be a place for you in that group, because we're going to be doing exclusive trainings on how we're building these systems. So if you want to be hired or you want to hire, that's a good place. And then also we're allowing you to promote yourself. So if you want to just get more leads, you have a product or a service you want to promote, we're allowing everyone to promote themselves essentially. And so it's a way to gather more leads, network with people at the same time, and get more trainings under your belt as well.
Perfect. What's the best way for people to reach out to you, whether it's, to, ask about your services, become a potential power partner, or to, join the community?
Yeah, you can just hit me up on the DMs, Nigel Harman, either Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I'm active in any of those. Yeah, feel free to join my Facebook group as well. And also, there's one other thing I mentioned. We're actually running a free challenge right now. So, real quick, like the way we do our systems is we break it down to 5 different departments: marketing, sales, client success, business, finance, and fulfillment. And so, essentially, what we're going to be doing this free challenge, we're going to be building a dashboard that has AI systems locked in with it. So you're going to be able to pick a department, whatever department you want the best tracking for your business. You're going to pick the department. You're going to pick what KPIs you want us to help you track. We're going to be building that for you. And then we're also going to be building an AI system that locks onto that. And so at the end of the 5 days challenge with me, you'll get a working AI dashboard for you, right? So it's going to be also included in like, I'm going to be talking about it in the Facebook group. So if anyone wants access to that, just hit me up or go to my Facebook group.
Perfect. That all sounds great. Victor, just like I said, just give me the links. I'll put them in the description. Everybody, I recommend reaching out to Nigel, even if it's just a network, and kind of talk about the power partnerships and ways that you might be able to work together. He's a wealth of knowledge. So absolutely that if you a little bit more shy or you prefer a three-way introduction, reach out to me. I'm happy to make that intro for you. But otherwise, if anybody out there'd like to be interviewed, feel free to reach out to me directly. My link tree has all the socials that I have, as well as my calendar link. I'd love to have you on as a guest. But other than that, I hope you all have an awesome day.